So I have had a look at what you've done. It seems like it's only the hair that you were able to work on. I didn't see any submission for the costumes, but that's fine. I'll just comment on this. So for what I see here is these are really interesting. The only thing I would say is where are the references? Where are your references? Because it's interesting to come up with shapes. Like you can come up with, the coolest shapes that anybody has ever seen. These are really cool shapes for beards. This one is these are really cool shapes. But the question is, where is this inspiration coming from? You know, are you using references from symbols? Are there symbols? If not, where? Because you have to defend your design. Like this is something that you would experience when working on actual projects. If you are allowed, given 1000% creative freedom without anybody questioning where your inspiration is coming from, then we might as well accept anything. It means I can decide to make beards that look like a star, or make his hair look like the shape of a star or anything. Like I can make his hair be shapeless, or anything like that. There's no limits to what you can possibly create. But then when there's no limits, things can be taken to the extreme, to another extreme. So there's always the need for you to sort of ground yourself, and that's where references come. So we need references to ground ourselves. For example, this type of mustache here, it feels very Italian or Indian, right? So, and if this character is Yoruba, because Eson is a Yoruba guy, Yoruba from the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria, this type of mustache doesn't fit into that. It doesn't fit into the Nigerian or the Yoruba culture. Hi guys. So in the fall of 2025, I got to host an 8-week masterclass titled Ethnic Character Design for Animation, which had a decent number of signups. I got to share a ton of rich information, secrets, industry insights that I used to craft an award-winning character like Noni, Eyes of Wakanda. The sessions were archived and compiled into a digestible course. The course will be available for purchase on Gumroad from 26th of February 2026. If you are an intermediate level artist seeking to diversify your portfolio to include culturally grounded characters in animation, then this is for you. Thank you for listening and see you on February 26th. So it's already off. It's already throwing us off. This type of mustache as well, it doesn't feel you. I mean, the beards could pass. Like if, for example, these beards, like what I saw you did here, these beards made of cowries. Yeah, that's fine. This can work, but for the most part, the whole looking at the overall look of these beards, it doesn't feel like a Nigerian. It even sort of feels like this picture, like sorry, this drawing. It looks like a white man. Like it doesn't look. He looks like an European. He does, from the shape of his nose. I mean, I'm not saying you should change the shape of the nose. You can leave that, but just looking at this without any context, like if I showed, if I did a poll to random people and show them this picture or this drawing and ask them to point or think of a culture or a tribe in the world or a part of the world where this guy is from, most people would likely say Europe. So the cultural inspiration has to be kept at the back of our mind in order for this thing to feel authentic. So originality is very important. Um, yeah, so that's what I have to say. Like you have to show references and use references to to come up with these ideas so that we can trace it to somewhere, like we know where this is coming from, rather than it just being some arbitrary shapes, like arbitrary shapes, arbitrary concepts, and stuff. And for example, these beards, one thing we have to be careful with is avoid using, like, just using ideas from our head, because this is not this type of mustache is realistic. Like it's something we've seen, so somewhere at the back of our minds. So maybe when you were doing this, you were thinking of a real mustache, like somebody carrying a real mustache. But this is not an exercise based on our existing visual library, but more of an exercise based on what is obtainable in terms of, like, culturally. So we have to respect the Yoruba tribe and use use symbols, use ideas, use shapes from this culture as inspiration, so that if and then when you put the reference, the pictures there, so that when we look at it, we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This, I see what where you got your idea from, and I see how you've been able to adapt that particular shape, language, or whatever it is from a real stuff. Like for example, this hat, the fila hat. So this hat is called a fila in Yoruba tribe. If you made a beard that looked like this hat, if you made the beard look like the hat, and then maybe you put like a call out on the side, that's the reference, and then the call out is there, so I can see that you drew inspiration from for the shape of the beards from the hats, or from that particular picture reference. Then it's more interesting to me. I'm curious, and I'm more excited to see that you're not just you know using arbitrary random ideas, but using you're actually using references from real cultural symbols and shapes and patterns. So yeah, that's basically what my feedback is for you.